our first ever repeat guest on Chatting Chippewas Video Edition, Coach Drinkall. How do you feel about that?
Pretty prestigious honor, pretty big deal. So I'm excited about it.
Well, you guys just got through spring ball. That's why we wanted to talk to you. You had your spring scrimmage, spring game, whatever you'd like to call it, through your 15 practices. How did everything go this year?
Other than playing it on a Tuesday, it went pretty good. So I need to apologize to the fan base about the spring game date. So the NCAA has a rule that when you start spring practice, whatever your first day is, you have 35 consecutive days, not counting breaks, to get them in. So I originally had the spring game on a Friday night because we had the soft break leading into Easter. Well, we submitted the paperwork, and the NCAA said those are Central Michigan breaks. Those aren't real break days. We don't count those as breaks. So I lost those days on the back end. So we had to scoot it up. So what I did learn is a couple things. Is that this year the duration of it was way better. It was 65 minutes long, fast pace. We started at the right time, got all the players out of there so they could interact with their family and go to dinner and stuff. But we got to do it on a Friday or Saturday night when there's a bunch of stuff in town, and so we'll get the third time's a charm. We'll get that one right.
That's right. You look in this camera and you give your official apology, because I sent some emails to try and explain it, but I knew you've been explaining it.
It is 100% my fault, and I apologize. It is on nobody but me, and we will get it right. So we had a little spring game action on a Tuesday, but after this, next year it'll be on Friday or Saturday for sure. So we'll get everybody out and going.
Listen, we have so many home Saturday games. You only have one midweek game against Sacramento State. You guys were missing something, so you had to add in a scrimmage.
Yeah, it was actually really funny because there were several people that wanted to come up to the game that can't make it on a Tuesday, and they were pretty salty about it, which I view as a good thing because they're coming up here to try to support it. So, yeah, it was funny how the whole thing ended up working out, and somebody online was like, I think it's awesome they're doing Maction. I was like, yeah, that's absolutely why we plan it that way. So, like I said, it was an oversight with, and we do everything right here. We don't break any rules. Like, we follow every rule in recruiting and with the NCAA and procedure to a T. So as soon as we found that out and wanted to adjust it and did it right, and so it is a little clerical error, but we'll get it right.
I saw Coach Chapin the day before, and I told him, because he's used to this, being up in the box, there's something about viewing it from the press box. You get a better look. So I was up in the radio booth looking down, and I had a great view. Honestly, was a pretty good turnout fan-wise of people that came. It was a great weather night, and good amount of people came out.
Everything was awesome. I bet it was as well or more attended than probably the previous one, our first spring here. But, man, it was great, and our guys – if you come and do it, we had the player lounge open, so we did a lot of end zone work towards that. So our fans that were there were able to get really, really good view and angle of the game and the action. And then, man, it was just the whole event. The weather was perfect, and like I said, our players go up in the stands and interact with the guys with our fans at halftime. The whole event was really, really nice. I wish we had done it on a weekend when there was more stuff coming on and probably not coincide with the NFL draft. And then it kind of, I was talking with Coach Up for our GM. It kind of hit me. It's like, well, we don't have to do the last thing. It doesn't have to always time up. We need it to be the best day to watch. So maybe next year, if it ends up being, hey, we have the spring game and then have 2 or 3 practices afterwards, we can do that too. So we now that we kind of see how it is, and college football is a little bit different in the sense that we really get those guys. They have a break now, and then we get them all through the whole summer, and then we get them again for fall camp, and so we really can kind of tailor how we use spring a little bit different and really make it a much better experience for our fans and Michigan recruits, for high school recruits. So we had unbelievable attendance from high school coaches and prospects throughout all of spring, but we really want to select the right date to get the most inclusive and participation from our fan base for sure.
And I know last spring you really had just gotten hired in December, and then boom, it's spring ball. And you had talked last year, I believe, about it was a lot of behaviors and habits that you were teaching in spring ball. This year, a year forward, it sounds like you guys could actually get into the football stuff.
Yeah, it was completely different than a spring ago. Last year, a year ago this time, you're still hiring staff and getting guys to come out wearing the right uniform on correctly, and when we say like play with leverage or run hard or play fast, like that mean getting all that aligned, So now, we were able to, a couple things happen. So we're 53% brand new roster, I believe, from last fall. So 1 out of every 2 kids you see in our building, more than that is brand new to the program. So that allowed us to really recruit a little bit more stylistically, basically to fit, whether that's scheme or personality, academic profile, all of that. So the first year, our style of play was not fully evolved yet. It was kind of, do what you have to do, each week, really, really unique. And we were very, very conservative. We wanted to, and when you're first brand new and you're trying to get everybody going, you don't want to lose games. So we were very, very conservative. Well, now we're able to recruit to a little bit more schematic fit and guys that are aligned with how we do stuff. And what the biggest thing for spring now is it's going to allow us to blossom and grow schematically. So you will see in coming out of our spring, we look a lot different, like what we're going to look like long term on all 3 phases: offense, defense, and special teams. So that was really, really productive. And when you make some of those new, it's really interesting now because you don't really have to get everything in spring ball. You have to get everything in spring ball. Spring ball is really, hey, these are the activities you can do in pads. And then when they're here all summer, they don't have pads on. So, there's a couple things that we ended up not great at in spring, but those are easy things for us to fix and continue working in the summertime. But there's some stuff that we have to put pause on until fall camp starts again when you get pads all the way on. So I do know, I shouldn't make a guarantee about next spring because I do know from some of the, it sounds like they might be switching how spring ball operates and maybe looking into OTA models and making a shift there. So, this spring ball was incredibly productive, way more scheme based. And then there's still elements of like, as much as you want to run, it's 53% new guys and you got to teach them all those same things. But boy, these guys are fast learners, and to have guys and the veteran guys in the program like Van Timmeren and Dema and Langston Lewis and Jayon Jackson, those guys that can show those guys the rope, it's been a huge advantage.
It's early, but it seems like, last year, it seems like you guys had to win a specific way, kind of controlling and possessing the football and being more of a conservative style of offense. It sounds like with this group, you feel like there are different things you can do. There are different ways you will be able to win this fall. Is that correct?
Yeah, absolutely. There's still certain things we believe in, but we really drive. There are 3 themes that really drive what we do schematically. Number 1 is, what do you have to do to win? That's different for everybody. That's different at the school, your roster, the experience of your guys, your staff. All of those things factor into that. So the number 1 thing is, what do you need to do to win in your conference? The number 2 is, what does your staff have the knowledge and time to teach? And the third thing that probably drives it more than anything is, who are your best 11 players and what are those guys good at? And for us now, we probably, like a year ago, like Joe at quarterback was fantastic. He did a tremendous job and it was a pro style system. And that kind of fit what he did really well, especially what Coach Chapin really tailored to what Joe's really good at in the course of the year. And Joe did a tremendous job. Well, now we have Angel and Jaden and Marcus, and those guys are completely different players than Joe was, different skill sets. So we're not going to ask those guys to do the exact same things that Joe did. And now if you look at the collection of quarterbacks, I'm just using that as an example, that skill set is they're very aligned skill set with each other. So it allows us to, hey, when one guy goes down, the whole machine kind of keeps running. So, it'll be certainly a more exciting style of play for sure.
Even though
maybe not all the time, but
I was going to say, you came from Army, so I know it was more conservative, but I'm sure you didn't hate that, right? You like to be physical and run the football. To
me, is like you want to do things that other people are unwilling to do.
Yeah.
And right now, there are a lot of people who like playing 7-on-7 football. There are a lot of people who like that, and that's kind of our Central Michigan's deal. Is like, man, look over the years at all the teams that have been really good here. Man, they all run it pretty good. It drives around really good quarterback play. They kick ass on defense every year. I mean, Lou Nichols here leading the country in rushing, and they're going to the conference championship game. Like, that doesn't change a whole lot. So there's, and Mount Pleasant's isolated. Like, that's a cool deal for us, for people who have to bus and get all the way up here. And you come up here and you're getting into a real full-blown fist fight for 3.5 hours. Find out who's about that. You know what I mean? Mm-hmm. Like, and there's really good teams in our league that are, but that's I have a level of comfortability with that and kind of want to start there and then expand from there. So that's kind of our baseline is, man, we got tough, really good guys that aren't afraid of that fight and playing that kind of game.
You come in last year, and it is, there were so many seniors. You had that nice buy-in from guys. You talked about that all last year, but do you feel like now, with even though a lot of those seniors are gone, you're able to bring in some new faces that you've added some depth in areas where maybe you don't have time to recruit because you get hired so late? Like, how do you feel about this roster now?
Yeah, so obviously, like, replacing some of those guys that have played, especially like the linebacking core, is just really difficult because they're great, productive players and people. I hate talking about only how they are as players because they're great human beings. But, like, you look at Kwiatkowski and Heldman and Dakota and Levi Brown, like, those guys are just tremendous football players. And it's hard to replace that leadership, the production, all of it at once. So I will tell you this, like, the roster, we absolutely love our guys. Like, we've had a ton of fun. These guys have hit the ground running, and we talk about in our program all the time. We don't really do it like junior through freshman through senior anymore. We really do it like kind of like how long have you been here, and that's kind of the role you're supposed to prioritize. So if it's your first year here in the programs, your very first semester, very first year, be quiet, be coachable. Listen to, bring in as much information like a sponge as possible. If it's your second year here, understand our processes. Like, have your goal should be to have a really good understanding of exactly who we are and what we're about, and live that way. If it's your third year here, or you're junior, getting a little older, that's when you really need to take on the active leadership role. That should be your priority and your emphasis. And if it is your last year in this program, so seniors or fifth year seniors, you should really be concerned about your legacy. When I talk about legacy with these guys, it's about, take away your ability as a football player, like how you made your teammates feel when you walk in the room or when they went through really hard times, or what are people going to say about you when you're gone other than your ability. And if you really concern each person in their program kind of focuses on, hey, this is my role as far as a leadership or your soft skills as a teammate, everybody kind of gets accommodated that way, and it works out really well. So as much as we lose all that veteran leadership and productivity, we got really high quality people in that are very competitive, and that depth has helped. And then we're trying to get the guys that have been in the program who benefited from the legacy of those guys leaving. The senior class did such a good job with that. It's really helped to bridge that gap that these guys are now much ready to transition to the next role and help the new guys that are coming into there. So that part's been the fun, you know what I mean? Like, because when, like you said, when we got hired here a year ago, it was hard to come in and take over 27 new seniors and tell them all exactly how you do it. So to me, the advantage is like, man, these guys are veteran, professional, starved, mature, older people. They want some structure and some transparency to see how we're doing it, and those guys hit it and ran with it, man. Did such a tremendous job. Guys like Eli Ricard and Caleb Spann, and like I said, Joe Labus, Biggins, those guys were unbelievable for us. Henry Dryden, just really, really quality players and people, and bridge the gap, and now here we are going through spring.
It's unique. I think I saw a quote from you after the spring game. Last year you went into San Jose State, and it was the defense that was experienced, and your offense was kind of trying to – you needed to see what they were going to look like. And this year it's flipped. The defense, as you just mentioned, you lose basically your entire linebacking core, your back end at safety. It's the defense that's inexperienced, and there's a lot back on the offensive side of it.
Yeah, I mean, Coach Mace has the actual numbers, but we had not played – we went into the season last year with just guys that had not played very many snaps on offense in a Central Michigan uniform. So now, I mean, now it's the exact opposite. We're basically returning everyone, which is great. And that's a ton of experience of just going through battles and being prepared for it, and your mental psyche of the workload that's going to be accompanied with it. And then defensively, this is a new challenge. Like you said, we had some pretty good erasers over there last year, man. I mean, guys that could, that's the cool part about defense is like 10 guys can be wrong and one guy can fix it. A good one can fix it sometimes for everybody. So, replacing the leadership of some of those guys and the making ability of some of those guys is probably unrealistic. So you're trying to do it by committee and a whole group of guys, and it's a good time to do it, because like when a big personality like a Kwiatkowski or Dakota Cochran leave or a Heldman leave, that's a big void in the leadership that has to get filled too. So that whereas a lot of people will say how we lost that leader, well, everybody else is dealing with those same problems too. That really is that hole is not a void where something is gone. It is a hole where there's an awesome opportunity for new people to get in, and our job as coaches and staff is to facilitate them and gravitate towards wanting them to do that. So that's the part that's been really fun, is just this whole group has been just everything is, I guess, kind of elevated to a different standard of operation now. It's certainly I don't want to use the word easier, but more efficient in year two. Probably efficient is probably the right word.
In that spring game, the fans came out. Jaden Glasser didn't compete. Brock Townsend didn't compete. Langston Lewis didn't compete. Those are 3 skill position guys on offense.
Trav was limited for sure.
Yeah. But from what I watched, and you tell me, I mean, it seems like you guys have added, and you had some pretty good skill position guys that went out there. They made some plays on that Tuesday.
Yeah, we for sure, and this is not a knock on anybody, but just like we are really, really excited about, I hate comparing one versus another, but just like this team independently, we're really excited about the top end ability and the depth, man. Like we were really, especially last year, is that you can get banged up here or there, and injuries accumulate over a course of a season. Now we feel like we're in really, really, like from a roster standpoint, just a healthy spot from like the whole thing, from the first guy to the last guy, each position group. We're really, really excited about these guys. And you said like Jaden Glasser, he's held out, so he had a knee cartilage deal last year that he hurt against Pitt in the second game. So he probably could have pushed and done it, but we want to make sure he's good to go and ready to go long term, because that was a pretty significant deal. And Wes Sones, our athletic trainer, does a great job with all that stuff. But he's done a great job with Jaden. And Angel was sharp. Marcus was great. Like the whole quarterback room was good. And then you mentioned it, like running back now, it's a collect. Like Trav Moore played some, an early enrollee. Vaughn Blue's a transfer in from Liberty. He's done a tremendous job. JC's done an unbelievable job. And then receiving core is probably where we're the most different, where everybody knows Tommy tore his ACL. He's going to be out for the year. And Langston had a procedure done to clean some stuff up, so he was on the shelf. So for those 2 veteran guys to be out all spring, again, it wasn't like, oh, woe is us. It was, dude, this is awesome opportunity for all these other guys. Those reps get redistributed. And boy, did they show up, man. Like Nas Williams had a tremendous spring. Braylon Naves had a great spring. Sean Foster, Vanderleest, Cruz. I mean, all of those guys are just they're playing at such a high level right now. And like you said, the depth. And the thing that's really evolved in year 2 that's been nicer is that if you're a receiver now, I'm not just an X receiver. I can play X, I can play Z, I can play in the slot, I can do some of the stuff in the backfield, I can change formations and move me around, and I understand the system. So there's all kinds of ancillary benefits that have been better in the second year for sure.
How much is like, we didn't see Jaden Glasser, but we know he's got the ability to be mobile. How nice is it that multiple options at the quarterback position? They can throw it, but also they can hand it off, they can run it, to make you guys a little bit more versatile in the backfield.
Yeah, it's a huge deal. And to be honest with you, like our quarterbacks have to have the ability to move. They don't have to be runners, but they have to have the ability to extend plays and hurt you with their legs when they can run. And it's a little bit of a sliding scale. So like for all of those guys, that for us moving forward, that's a big deal. And Glasser is just, he's really unique because he's like, if you come watch our practices, he's as physically impressive of a person as there is. I mean, he's humongous. He's 6'3" and change. He's 240 pounds. And it looks like he'd start at DN for us.
Tight end, something.
Yeah, he's all incredible. And then when you watch him throw a football, it is like it's like drops your jaw. It's so impressive how physically skilled he is. And when he got here, he was a really talented thrower. And Coach Chapin and Jaden have really worked together really hard for him to become a full-blown quarterback and everything that means with that. Like, he went from being a marginal student to when we got, not because he's not smart, he's incredibly intelligent, but like his work ethic and professionalism in the classroom was not how it matched in football. Well, now he's like a dean's list guy, and he's crushes it in the classroom. He's unbelievable. Like, he's elevated every part of his life, and we're really excited to see him get healthy and get out there running around. It's hard to, because you could tell he wanted to get out there and just be doing more, and you're just like, ugh, like these 2 reps are not worth you risking hurting your knee. and he knows he's got to do it because he's got Angel, who's done a great job, and Marcus, and all three of those guys are on our, like, to me, that's a big deal. Is we only have 15 kids on the entire team that were elected to the leadership council. 3 of them are quarterbacks.
Wow.
That is a big deal for us. And those guys have all done, Marcus has eaten a lot cleaner. His whole body, he throws differently than he did last year. Just a huge credit to those kids, and Coach Chapin doing a great job.
It helps too, I would assume. You don't want the injury to Angel Flores last year, but giving Marcus Beeman that opportunity to get in there and get actual live reps, I'm sure has to only help that quarterback depth in that room this year as well.
Yeah, I don't drink alcohol at all, but I used to. And every now and then when you're young and you're learning how to do that, once in a while you have too much to drink, and you realize, boy, does it really not fun when you're going through it. But you learn a lot with the power of hindsight. And that's kind of like last year. Is like you get into, I remember like we sat and did many of these interviews, like 3 quarterbacks. And the second game in, 2 quarterbacks because Glasser's out for the year. And then we played, I think it was UMass. And Angel came through on a counter play, and it was like the perfect how to sprain your MCL and get hurt, the rep. So then we're down to 1. So it was just like, and then you're sitting here telling Marcus, who you're going to redshirt, well, now you're appearing in games. So it was chaotic to go through. It was like a bad night out on a weekend when you're in college maybe. But then the hindsight's like Marcus got a chance to be exposed in those 4 games where he now knows, like, this is the speed of the game. This is how I'm going to get hit hard. This is how I have to have myself prepared. All those guys now got so much value, not only the reps, but just I'm the guy. I'm going, like, getting ready for meetings every week and commanding the team and knowing that I'm going to be the quarterback appearing in games. For us to have done that with 4 people last year and 3 of them are back, that's to put a value on how important that is almost impossible to do. But those guys, like I said, they're all on the leadership council. You wish you had 500, all 3 of those guys, and they're all good at what we're doing. They're really, really good at what we're doing. So it's been a really exciting to watch.
On the defensive side of the ball, how do you try and, with Heldman gone and Cochran and Kwiatkowski and Ricard, there are big pieces that you don't have this year. That doesn't mean there's not capable guys there, but it's still, you said you judge it. It's not by sophomore, junior, senior. It's by how long you've been in our building. How do you kind of speed that thing up and get them as ready as possible, even though they are inexperienced in this program?
They're all different. That's a great question. Like, it's each position group is different. Each player is different, and it changes annually. So, like, I look at a year ago, okay? We are super, super excited about you. J.J. Douglas and Nathan Van Timmeren, they had as good of springs as anybody on the whole team as D linemen. They were in fall last year when we were playing UMass. I think they were both tight ends still.
Yeah.
So halfway through the season, those guys were offensive players, and now they're going through. So even though they're on our team, they're kind of like new guys that came in. Well, Corver Demo looks like $1 million right now, and we didn't have to scrimmage him a bunch this spring. But same deal. He was a brand new guy who came in a year ago, made an immediate impact. Both transfer safeties a year ago. Those guys came in, and with Span and Ricard, who had been great players before, but they were the only 2 safeties on the roster. So we bring in 2 more transfers. Those guys are key contributors on special teams, defense, make huge plays over the course of the year. And man, so like you see it happen now for sure. Now again, where that void is gone of those dudes, like, I don't know, you can, like I said, you can full blown replace any one guy, but what you're trying to do is the depth and the collective opportunity for all of those guys to come in and make a huge impact. I can't tell you how excited we are. I think out of D line, I think there's only 2, Q Bird and DJ Bennett, I think, are the only 2 D linemen on the roster from when we first got here still. So, like, Coach Smith and Coach Cronin have completely rebuilt that room. And like I said, it's a position where, like, Coach Cronin was the D-line coach at Army when I was there as the O-line coach, and he rotates guys, plays a lot of guys through. So we've had new guys transfer in, but they're the right kinds of guys who when you watch them play, you'll go, oh yeah, these are maybe not just like Heldman because he's pretty good, but boy, they play the same style, like long guys who play hard, do it right, love each other. You'll see a lot more of that reflected and showing up. But One spot, like I said, just that linebacking core was so productive a year ago. That's a big. Now Xavier White's done a great job. Victor Earl, who I call the Duke of Earl, Duke's done a freaking phenomenal job. And,
What's the story behind the nickname?
that's the Duke of Earl, old song, Duke. So I started calling him that, and I think he looked it up. So whenever I see him, I always call him the Duke.
Hand up. Clearly, I didn't know the song either.
Oh yeah, you gotta have old parents, man. You gotta listen to some of those old timey radios. But it's just an old school song, but those guys done a great job. And I'll tell you another the thing that maybe come out of spring that's been the neatest is some of the freshmen that enrolled early. Oh man, has that been a huge blessing. Like we've really, I think there's only 6 kids on the roster that are not here already. So like Trav Moore from DeWitt, he enrolled early, and if you walked up and talked to him, you'd think he's a junior here. I mean, he is.
Watching him be in the spring game, and you said he was limited. He looked like he belonged in that backfield. Yeah, it was insane.
He's done a phenomenal job. He's a very serious professional guy. Like, you don't really have to be hard on him because no one is harder on him than himself in a positive way. I mean, he does a tremendous job. Very studious, professional. Was playing 2 positions for us by the end. Like Colton Benitis, a freshman safety, had a great spring. Like Drew Esper from Traverse City, he enrolled early. He's going through spring right now. He's got a perfect 4.0 GPA. Came out of spring, competing for a starting job at linebacker, and man, is he doing a great job. So it just goes to show you, and I was talking to him this morning in the cafeteria, and he said he's the first player from his high school to go Division I since 2018. And it just goes to show you, if you look and turn over some of the rocks, and you do that here in the state, man, there's so many good football players in the state of Michigan. It's just going to continue to be. It's just proving right over and over again.
Great example of that is nobody knew about this kid named Cade Graham. He was literally on this campus, and that dude balled out as your place kicker last year. He's going to be a tough kid to replace, but, it's just the spring game, but, the kid that was learning under him from the west side of the state, he looked pretty good, knocking in all his field goals that Tuesday night.
Yes, he did. I'll tell you what I really like about him, so Coach Murphy does an unbelievable job, but he had a pretty rough practice, I think, like the 3rd or 4th practice of spring. And I was really curious to see how he was going to respond. And, man, did he kick really well after that. And just the whole specialist unit. Now, and the other thing that was really weird about spring is we went through, Ben Pratt graduated, and we lost our long snapper at the last second to a Power 4 in the recruiting process. So we went through spring without a long snapper. But what was really cool is we had a couple guys on the team who had done it in high school, so we were able to develop that skill and develop some of those guys. And, again, kid like J.J. Douglas, who's so valuable at DN. Well, now he's a long snapper that provides a ton of value, not only to our team, but for his NFL potential too. And so the specialist part was fantastic too. And Dooley had a great spring. Dooley's, our punter, is so big. It's just neat when you watch people meet him for the first time because they think he's for sure a linebacker or D lineman or something. You're like, that's our punter. And he's a big old dude. So, his
arms looked jacked during the spring. I remember looking at him, I'm like, that's not a punter.
But he's just a big guy. I mean, he's like all of 6'2" or 6'3". I mean, he's a big kid, man.
That's pretty cool. So, special teams, defense, offense. Again, I know it's only spring, and there'll be a few new faces that eventually will come to campus, but it seems like you guys feel like you're in a really good spot heading into the fall.
Yeah, we are. Because we have a good idea of what to expect for sure. But the thing we're most excited about is, man, like our schedule this fall is incredible. Like, this is when the day the schedule came out. I think it was actually the day before. We met as a team, and we're just like, this is what you signed up for. We want to play a premier team like New Mexico early. We want to host a really good Wyoming team. Like, those are the major state schools of their states. So it's a big deal. And then to be able to come home and host Western Michigan, 5 home games on Saturdays before November where we're going to have perfect weather, and we're going to play the Miami Hurricanes, and we're going to, in back-to-back weeks, we're going to host the Miami Redhawks and Western Michigan, who are the 2 teams that played in the conference title game a year ago. So to me, this is just it's as premier of a schedule as you can get with the best opponents at the best times, and this is what you want. This is what you're looking forward to, and our team and our guys are excited about this challenge, and this schedule is going to be awesome.
Top 10 largest crowd last year when Eastern Michigan came to town. You got 5 Saturday home games to potentially break that record. One of your road games, quote unquote, is at Ford Field, where you hope to end up in December against an in-state rival. you guys hit the jackpot in terms of having the opportunity to play some marquee games and play on Saturdays and hopefully get the fans out, get them excited to see you guys compete this fall.
Yeah, I mean, like, I know everybody talks about Indiana and Kurt Signetti, and they should, but like, we use them as a great example when we started the offseason, because it was like, okay, for Indiana to do what they did, they not only had to overcome all of the history of Indiana football, which I think when he took over, they had the most losses in the history of Division I football. So you're not only fighting all of that, but I think to win it, they had to, like, in a row beat like Ohio State, Alabama, Oregon, and Miami, like in a row.
And Miami in their own home stadium.
Basically in their homes, in a home game for them. So, like, you have to go 4-0 in 4 straight consecutive games. So you think about, all right, all the player talent levels probably comparable to some degree. So at that point in time, what allows teams to do that? What allows a team to? What are the things? Let's walk it backwards and inspect it. Like, look how disciplined, detail oriented they are, tough, like smart. Like, so all of those things. So that's where you have to position yourself. Is everything you do is, man, like, the fact that we're playing the 2 teams that went to the conference title in back-to-back weeks, like, that's exactly what you want. You're going to find out exactly who you are and where you're at, and what else could you possibly want. It's going to be awesome because I know, like you said, the Eastern game a year ago was a top 10. We might catch bad weather one of them, but if we have these 5 home games, my goal is for all 5 of these home games to be in the top 10 highest attendance games in Central Michigan history. And we're going to promote this and make the games really fun. So even if you hate football, you're coming to the game, bringing your family. There's all kinds of fun stuff to do. And when you're around that environment and people are having fun and they're all aligned, everybody likes Central, we're cheering for then it starts to become a rabid deal and starts going. What you can't do is the football coach just go, hey, why aren't you guys all coming in the game? Our job is to create a great product for you guys to consume. That's our job. So that's what we're in the process of doing, and it takes all of us working together to do that. But I'm so excited about this season and the schedule, man. It's going to be awesome.
You mentioned Kurt Signetti, and I feel like him dominating the way he did puts a lot of pressure on other college football coaches, because everybody thinks, okay, well, he did it in 2 years, so I want my program to do it in 2 years. And maybe it's a little bit of a cliche, but you see that jump sometimes, a lot of times, in year 2. And you guys were close in year 1, where you're in all these conference games. And I think I remember Heldman at the end of the bowl game, the press conference, saying, we were within 9 or 10 points, and you were right there saying, yep, it was like 9 points of those conference games. So you're right there. Here in the offseason, in like April, May, what do you think going into the season is the key to make that next jump and try and finish some of those games and be in the conversation even later than you were having a chance to go to Detroit this year?
Boy, just understanding that's a great question. I don't know that there's any one thing. There's just a million things you got to do all the time. But, like, understanding that championship standards are incredibly difficult. They are very demanding. They are exhausting. You fight along the way. It's a rocky road to win titles. And I think the biggest thing we have to do to probably take that next step is truly, one, is taking total ownership of everything. Like, if we don't play well, it is on us and us in this building and us only. Not rosters, not budgets, not referees, not play calls. None of that really means anything. We either executed with discipline and speed and violence, or we didn't. And we did it better than the guys across from us. And so I think taking total ownership of that, and then for the guys understanding that everything goes into winning and losing up until the game. You know what I mean? I think so many people think, like, I'll show up on Saturday and play and we'll see who plays better. And I don't believe in that. I believe that it's won before it's ever fought. And it was so neat. Thomas Incoom was just in here it was the first chance I ever had a chance to meet him. And I've heard so many great stories about him. And it was just a neat deal to meet him in person finally and hear him speak, because you fall in love with the guy in about 3 seconds. And just, like, you understand, like, oh, this is an incredibly successful human being. He's doing football now, but whatever he does, he's going to be really successful at. And he came up here and was dying laughing because, like, I have a pretty good relationship with Langston Lewis, and he and I talk all the time. He's a fascinating guy. And a lot of the messages I hit on, it's kind of boring because when a head coach, I kind of hit on the same stuff all the time, over and over and over again. And Thomas comes in and he basically says word for word everything I had been saying to Langston about, like, your talent doesn't mean anything. Push all that aside. It's every other thing that you do and details. And so I was making a parfait the other day and ran out in the training room and ran into Langston. I was like, hey, I heard the talk went well. And he was like, yeah, dude, it was like you paid him to say your script. And it was just like, so getting those guys to understand, like, one is there is no blaming, complaining, or defending anything. Take total ownership of everything all of the time. No one else is coming to save you. No one's coming to save us. It is us and our responsibility. So, like, and they're doing a great job with that. And the second thing is that, man, the way you sleep on a Monday night impacts how we win. What you eat on a Tuesday, how late you're staying up, or if you don't have homework done and that's dragging on you throughout the whole week, all of it matters. So getting guys with time management and prioritizing all that stuff is just those little pieces, I think, get you over the hump to the next one. Because even though Heldman is correct that, yes, we were 9 points away from going to the conference title game, anyone who played against us can sit here and say, well, they're 2 points away or 3 points away or 8 points or whatever from having a losing record or whatever. So the margin is very, very thin, and we play against a bunch of really good players who are really well coached. That's who like when we play Western Michigan, that is going to be a super talented team that is really well coached, that is highly motivated, with great fan support in a rivalry game they care about. Well, like, you better bring your A game to that environment against that opponent, or you're not going to like the result. So our guys are now kind of, I guess, they don't believe it's or hope it's going to happen. They expect it to happen, and that change from belief to hope to belief is probably a subtle one, but a big one.
You mentioned Thomas Incoom. I think he came right before the draft started, and he's a great example. Someone that dominated here in the MAC, still went undrafted, and yet he's still in the league right now with the Carolina Panthers. You have two guys that just dominated for you in this past season, Jordan Kwiatkowski, Michael Heldman. They go undrafted, but each getting an opportunity. Jordan getting invited to minicamp, Michael getting signed as an undrafted free agent with the Saints. I mean, how awesome is it to see those guys who hopefully will come back and see your program, but they're off to better things and hopefully having a chance to excel in the NFL?
It's a pretty cool deal for those guys and for everybody. I mean, I just know how much like that this means to those guys, and for all those guys who worked their butt off for the opportunity. I know we got a couple guys talking to some CFL teams too, but just, man, for those guys, it was so exciting because how much it meant to them. And to me personally, those are two guys that could have left. Those are two guys that very easily could have left and probably had a lot of people that they care about telling them to leave, and they didn't, and they stayed. And they're Central Michigan guys through and through, and they had an incredible experience. They left a great legacy. They positioned themselves like there is no easy path. Like some of the best players, Terrell Owens and Jerry Rice and Walter Payton and Larry Allen, like none of those guys had the traditional path. Like, I just went to USC and then ended up in the NFL. So all of those guys, like, if you're a good football player, the NFL finds you. And those guys are so productive, and it's such a cool thing to see that happen for those guys. It's hard to put into words how excited you are for them. You feel like a parent, you know what I mean, or a big brother. You're super excited. The only thing that we caught flack about is, you do those photoshops of the jerseys, and Kwiatkowski wore 12. So when we put him in the Patriots deal, I don't think the Patriots are going to let him wear 12 would be my guess. But other than that, it's been awesome. And those guys will, I was texting with NFL personnel before the draft about and the other thing that's really neat, there's kind of a reputation about Central guys coming out. Like the Central guys who go into the NFL are incredibly productive. Thomas has done a great job. Nick Ballor's been in the NFL for eternity. And Staley. I mean, all these guys have done such a good job that when they get in, they're professionals, they're versatile, they're flexible, they're great special teams players, they're great teammates, and Central Michigan has a reputation of all these really good people. Like they're into the NFL. So our guys, when they get an opportunity, they make the most of it, and I expect these guys to do the exact same.
Did you get a chance to talk to each of them, I'm assuming, since they got picked up?
I texted with both of them right after. I try not to, because there's all kinds of stuff, family, and, try to not bug them as much. But, yeah, texted with both of them right away, how excited we all are. And, I mean, just it's a cool deal. You know, I mean, like, there were those two guys to be in the NFL and to get this opportunity. It's just and you know how hard they work into it. You know, like all the stuff that everybody gets to see those guys show up and play on game day. It is all the other things that they have done their whole lives getting themselves to this, the sacrifice and commitment, all the people that I know and their families that care about them so much that help them throughout their, taking them to weightlifting and signing them up for this. And like, a lot goes into those guys getting this opportunity, and it's really cool to see that.
I think about their journey. I mean, we had Michael on this podcast, and he's talking about how they played each other in high school, and Jordan had to help chip him. They had to put 3 guys trying to block Michael, and then they turn into brothers and teammates. And I just tweeted this out the other day, that Buffalo sack fumble / pick where Michael hits the quarterback and JK catches and runs the other way, and they're both celebrating together in the end zone. And that photo, like that iconic photo of them being together, and now they are representing this university and this football program in the National Football League. It's so cool.
And they're incredible ambassadors for the program and for the institution as well. And the state of Michigan, they're great guys. And I mean, it was neat because when Thomas was back, he remembered Heldman when he was like a freshman or sophomore when he was here. And he's like, oh, it's so great to, like, he remembered him, he talks about him, he follows him. I mean, just like, it's a cool deal to see this fraternity of players all have each other's back.
The real question we got to know, it's late April, and there's a place here in Mount Pleasant that is not open 365.
I went the day it opened.
April 3rd, Doozy's opened, and you already saw. How many times have you been there, and what are you getting?
So I'm still sticking with the chocolate shake, medium chocolate shake with twist ice cream. I am trying to start the summer with no more than 3 visits a week, like maximum, capping it at 3. Because last year, by the end of summer, I was going 3 times a day, which is too much. Coach Upfer and my wife were a little concerned that's probably too much ice cream.
He gets some of those old Matt Drinkall photos where you're a little bit larger on the internet back in the day.
Oh, I was fatter than you've ever seen. Listen, it got pretty bad last year, and Kim knows this, so I'll explain kind of my system. So a year ago, I lived out at that barn like on the west side of town. So it was, I don't know, probably about a 9-minute drive on the nose from Doozy's. So what I started doing was I would order the chocolate shake, and then I would get the Oreo. I'd change up, but I'd usually get an Arctic Freeze. So I'd always get a medium Arctic Freeze with it and the chocolate shake. And I would smoke the chocolate shake in the 9-minute drive home and then throw it away outside in the garage. So Kim didn't know when I was bringing up just our ice cream that I had already eaten ice cream before I was going up the stairs. So afterwards, she came down, and I finally told her one day, and I was just like, you got to come look. I can't live with myself telling this is too embarrassing. And she was just like, you're pathetic. So I'm trying to cap it at 3. I was just there yesterday. We had 2 coaches visiting. So anybody who comes and visits, I'm like, you guys got to try this place. So one of them got the Reese's Peanut Butter Cup Arctic Freeze with vanilla ice cream. The other one got Nutter Butter Arctic Freeze with twist ice cream.
There's Nutter Butter.
Yeah, they both were big hits. Both were 10 out of 10s. So that went pretty good. We did Max and Emily's for lunch.
There you go.
They went with the wake up call. Can't go wrong with that. But I'm trying to limit myself to 3 times, a max of 3 visits a week. But I'm pretty weak-willed when it comes to that place.
Yeah, and it's not open year round. Now
the supply, and it's tough now because they shift. It starts at 2 to 10.
Yep.
And later on, when the days get a little longer, it shifts open to noon. So I am some days waiting there as it opens. Unfortunately, I'm the first guy in line, but that's okay.
So catch Matt Drinkall. If he's not here in the Chippewa Champion Center, you might see him down on Pickard at Doozy's. I want to know, though, for folks that haven't been out to Bettendorf, Iowa, or the Quad Cities, there's a pretty good ice cream out there at Whitey's. It's a
Whitey's
staple
ice cream.
Since 1933. The year you were born was?
1982.
1982. I believe the first Whitey's, now again, I know they're all right next to each other. I think the first Whitey's in Bettendorf came open in 84. So you've been growing up with that place right there in your backyard.
It's still in the same location. I know exactly where one is on Devil's Glen Road that I can get to my house. I rode my bike there 10,000 times. Kit Kat Malt is the one. They have these awesome shirts they sell there too that say if you don't get the malts, you get the shakes, meaning like you have withdrawals in them. Very good double entendre. But just everything there is awesome. It's like an old timey, like 1950s malt shop. You walk in there like it is the brightest place on earth, and they make these really cool sounds. They make everything right in front of you, and it's awesome. It is. I mean, if you come near the eastern side of Iowa, it is a staple going to going to Whitey's Ice Cream. So it is awesome.
1933 in what is it, Moline,
Illinois.
And they called him Whitey because of his hair, and it's passed down in the family. I went last year when the Lugnuts played out at Quad Cities.
I remember you texting me, and I listed you like 500 places to go eat.
Anchor Grill, I think, was...
Rock's Anchor Grill for breakfast. China Cafe on 53rd Street. Iowa Machine Shed probably was on there. Filling Station probably something over there.
But your love for ice cream, now that you're giving Doozies as much business, probably started with you growing up with Whitey's right next door, right?
There are no two ways about that. We also had at my middle school, this is actually pretty weird. In my grade school, they used to do off-campus lunch. If you came to 5th grade with a permission, think of how insane what I'm about to say to you is. We had no cell phones or anything. In 5th grade, if you came with a permission slip signed, they would let you leave the school across busy-ass streets and go to McDonald's and then walk back with lunch. And so then in like high school, you got off-campus lunch. In middle school, Dairy Queen is like the building next to our – so in middle school, I would do sports, get Dairy Queen right away because in grade school, it was Whitey's, then a little bit more Dairy Queen because it was closer. And then back into high school, when you could drive yourself, it was only Whitey's from then on moving forward. So – yeah, I guess I don't really eat a whole lot of other stuff, but I haven't had caffeine in 3 years. I don't drink soda, but ice cream is my big vice for sure.
Best in the Midwest, Whitey's. Best in Mount Pleasant, Doozies. I mean,
if you're in Eastern Iowa, if you go with Happy Joe's Pizza in the day and Whitey's ice cream for dessert, that is a top 5, a Mount Rushmore meal situation for you in your whole life.
Football coach, ice cream connoisseur, and you always got the food Rex, man.
Yeah, once in a while. I learned that from Coach Munkin. Coach Munkin at Army, he is a big food guy. He eats that. He doesn't have very many vices, but he knows good food everywhere, especially barbecue. So, yeah.
I love it. Good eats here in Mount Pleasant, and good football too. Hey, we're looking forward to the fall. Thanks for spending all this time because you guys are still recruiting. You just got done with spring ball. You guys are always busy, but appreciate you giving us a few minutes, and I really can't wait. What is it, September 4th, September 5th? You guys are out at New Mexico?
That sounds right.
Usually I feel like you got that calendar just dialed into your mind.
Yeah, it's a ways out. I got a daughter now, so I'm trying to negotiate that a little bit. But, I mean, it's going to be – I can't tell you how excited I am. It's going to be a really, really fun experience, and we're excited to kick this off and get going. And like I said, it was a long road trip to start last year, so we're kind of – used to that and kind of expect that and go, and it is a good football team to start one. So it's going to be a really fun year. And like I said, it's been so fun watching getting to finally meet all of our alums and donors and fans and supporters. And man, I want everybody to feel like they're part of it because they are. And it takes all of us doing this, and it is going to be a really, really fun year. And I don't know if this airs by next Wednesday, but baseball's at home next Wednesday. We'll try to get a big turnout to that game and get after it. So it's going to be really fun.
Love it. Well, hey, thanks for the time. Enjoy your summer, and we can't wait for this fall, man. Appreciate it, and we'll see you. It's going to be here sooner than we think.
Yes, it is. Thank you for all your support, and fire up, Chips.